Hello, my friends. It's Julie, or Jules Caldwell, as my great friends like to call me. And this great friend who's with me today, Yetta Dekker, is no different. She is one of the ones who coined the name Jules Caldwell for me. I'm super excited to have you here with me today, Yetta.
And I'm super excited to be here because it's an opportunity, right? Not just for us. It's
Indeed.
really not about us. It's about everyone that's connecting with you at Ignite.
Yes, ignite. So we're like, as my kids would say, I love this expression, like 2 sleeps away from the early bird deadline, which is on Wednesday, August 31st. And it's not too late to still take advantage of that. And so this opportunity is for you and I to come together, Yetta, for people to get to know you a little bit more. You're going to be speaking. You're going to be running our Living, Laughing, and Loving with Purpose and Passion session that's going to wrap up our event day. I'm really excited about this one. I'm not going to lie. I think it's going to be a good one.
I think they're all going to be incredible. And
Yeah.
this one should be no less. And it's interesting when you say speaking, it's not really for me about speaking. It's about connecting. It's about engaging. It's about having a mutual dialogue that moves
Mm,
every single person forward. Because I've too much in my life had people speak at me,
yes.
and it's nasty.
It is nasty, and I love that you pointed that out, because my hope and my desire for the day is to come together as women and realize we're not alone. We're here together, linking arms. We are all just living life one day at a time, and we're no better than the other. Like, we all make mistakes, we all learn, we grow, we change. We evolve as we move along. And I think that's one of the things that I want the most from this day, is for us to just realize that we're all in the same place, and we're all here to lift each other up and to get excited about our place in what we can do and the impact we can bring in the world.
Yeah. It's very cool. I mean, as you talk about community and coming together and linking arms, I can't really link arms with myself. It's a very awkward thing to do. And that's actually the point. I've never tried to do that before. And yet it's incredibly awkward to link arms with me. And that is kind of representative of the long life lesson I've learned. And that is when I go solo, when I attempt to
Mhm.
link arms with me, what actually happens is I get to go so low. Like, I
Yeah.
actually set the stage for my lid. My ability to rise has been set by my solo-ness, if you want to call it that. So when I go
Mhm.
solo, I get to go so low. And when I'm
Mhm.
willing to link arms and travel in community and still do my work, except do my work within a community of like-minded women that are wanting the best for each other as well as for themselves, somehow community allows me to come into unity even with me and with each other. And as a result, go so high, soar
Mm.
places I could never have gone while I was busy trying to link arms with just me.
Yeah.
Solo is a recipe for lowness, really. And I can vouch for it because I've done it. Like, I was that girl, and maybe you like me are going, I don't want people to know my business. I don't want them in there. Well, I would tell you that often my brain, and maybe you're like me, my mind, my brain, my husband says I should never go there alone. It's a dangerous, dangerous place. And if I go there alone, I have to go there being in a state that's going to move me forward rather than make me go so low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My friend Yetta, we have been crossing paths now for quite a few years. I kind of lost track, maybe 6, 7 years. And we came together at a time in my life where I was not necessarily in a great place. And we came together because I was looking for a real estate agent, but our relationship evolved into much more than real estate agent and client. And we became really good friends along the way. And that's something that's been really special to me. But one of the things that I have really loved about you and watching your journey is your desire to learn, to grow, to evolve as life brings new things to you. So maybe tell us a little bit about what's your secret to living and loving life with purpose and passion, because you exemplify that to me.
A secret. Well, I don't know if it's so much a secret as much as it is being willing. For me, it has to be to trust that I'm not in charge. And yet there's certain things I can be in charge of. So it's that allowing God to be in charge. For me, that is my recipe for success for sure. And then the second piece of it, though, is being in charge of the things that I can be in charge of, which equals one thing. There's only one thing I can be in charge of. Because I tried to be in charge of my husband. I tried to be in charge of my kids. I tried to be in charge of my employees, people's attitudes, my clients' perspectives, what they should do. I attempted to be in charge of a whole lot of stuff and a whole lot of people I had no business being in charge of, because it's demanding enough to be in charge of the one thing I can be in charge of, which is me. I can only be responsible and in charge of me. And so if I was to say the secret, and I actually shared it with a client today that's going through some tough stuff, and he called to say, Yetta, help. And I said, nothing changed for me from a really dismal place in life for like 9 years to trying to turn the ship around, so to speak, until I realized that no one was responsible for my happiness, and I was responsible for no one else's happiness. And when I was trying to change others, when that was my motive, because it was my motive, I would behave a certain way. Maybe like me have tried that. You behave a certain way so you can get a certain result. Like you're after the result, and it's an amazing result, and it's a thing you desire. It's kindness, it's niceness, it's love, it's just being really good to each other. That was all I was after. Except what I was doing was behaving a certain way to get someone else to do a certain thing. Behave a certain way. And when nothing happened after a while, guess what I did? I stopped doing the thing because I was motivated to make someone else change.
Yeah.
And then in 1991, I had a wake-up call. And for the first time, I would say in earnest, I realized that my journey was my journey. God directed for sure. That's what happened. And my journey was my journey. And it wasn't until I said to Yetta, listen to me. Your motivation has to be intrinsic, not extrinsic. So it couldn't be focused on what someone else would do or why they would do it or if they would do it or how they would do it. It had to be focused on nothing more than me being my best version of me. Because there's no expiry date of when that stops.
Yes.
Versus the other, there was an expiry date on the behavior change because it was only really motivated by getting someone else, specifically Ken for most of the first 9 years, to do what I wanted to do. And the strange thing, I didn't really see it coming because by then I didn't really care what he did. Like it was kind of not a nice place, but I really didn't care whether he agreed with me, disagreed with me. I was just going to be my best version. And as I did that about a year in, like I'm not talking 6 weeks. I'm not talking there was an expiry date. There was no expiry date on me being the best me. And about a year in, he will say he realized that he was still being a schmuck. He was still being unkind, and it was getting more difficult because my behavior wasn't set off by his all too often. I mean, I'm not saying it never happened, but the motivation was me being my best me, not me being my best me so he would be his best him.
Right.
And if I could give a secret to anybody, which I did to my client today, that would be it. Like that simple. Motive matters.
Motive matters. Love it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
good hashtag.
It is.
Well, you know, and
Times.
I'm not surprised. I love that though, because I think, you know, the key takeaway for that for me outside of motive matters is until we stop and look at and acknowledge our own desires, our own intentions, our own heart towards what it is we're trying to do, then the outcome that comes from that is going to be very, very different than when we're being true to ourselves, authentic to who we are. And that's been one of the biggest lessons I know I've learned along my journey is one, I do need to link arms. I can't do it alone. And so I love that you talked about that earlier. There was a time where this would be something I'd be doing on my own, and I would probably be failing at it or nowhere near, you know, having the great impact that I think that we're going to have with this conference. But then two, also realizing that until I'm authentic with who I am, I can't actually do the things that I'm supposed to do and that I'm called to do in this world, you know, until I'm true to who I am. So
Without
motive
being
matters.
concerned about how others respond to it. Like
Yeah.
I still want niceness around me and kindness and Ken to be all affectionate and loving and romantic. And he is all those things much of the time. And yet whether he is or not doesn't change who I'm going to be or who I'm required to be or who I'm to be.
Yes.
And it's I'm not saying it's easy. Geez, it probably sounds like I'm making this sound like it's all Pollyanna and super easy and it was a lot of fun, and it wasn't.
It's not. It's a choice every day. Every day we wake up, we choose to, and maybe every minute sometimes.
Yeah, I'm thinking every day didn't measure it for me, right? Like that was not. Sometimes it was every second.
Yeah.
It was
Well, I know in some
thrilling.
of the journeys I've gone through, it's been 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day at a time. But I see the incremental differences and the changes, and it happens. Part of the habits and the good behaviors, like you say. Yeah. I love it.
You know, there's an exponential growth that I had no clue would come. Like no clue.
So I love that you use the word exponential growth, but I also know that there's some meaning behind it. You and Ken are always on the go with some really interesting things that are happening. Can you give us a little taste of some of the exponentially amazing things that you have on the go?
Well, of course, serving our clients and growing the Dekker team and Solid Rock Realty has been a passion for, I guess, the one over 20 years and the one over 30 years. So that doesn't go anywhere. We're not,
Nope.
you know, it's the foundation. And it took me a lot of years to get that Dekker team serving clients to the best of our ability with excellence is the foundation of everything else that was born.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. I rejected it for a while. Like I was having lots of internal battles in here. And now I get that it's just the foundation. And what it's foundational for right now is we're almost done. Super scary, actually, even though it's number 2, is because we've never done it like this before. And that is we're writing a book. And we're writing a book called Life X or Life Exponential. And we're doing it in collaboration with each other. And that is huge because we are both, Ken and I, fiercely, in the past, we were both fiercely independent. And so collaborating, as much as we've collaborated on much of life, we've never to this degree collaborated on one project at the same time. Like he'll do his piece, I'll do my piece, and we call that collaboration, and it works well because we're expanding each other's ideas and concepts, and it's wonderful. And this one's been a little bit different. Yeah, so it's been really good. Not that it hasn't been without tears or without the odd headache or without the odd fist shaking, but always we return back to fun.
And when is the book expected to be available?
I don't want to know. I don't know because there's been a few delays. days because the editing process is a little more intense this time than even when we wrote the wealth formula. I say we because as much as Ken's name is the only one on the wealth formula, we all know that we were in it together. Yes. Right? Like it doesn't get birthed by itself, although he hand wrote that manuscript.
It's a great book, by the way.
Thank you. It's an interesting book, eh? Yeah. What's one of the takeaways for you? And put you on the spot right now from that book.
Oh, from that book? Oh, just the simplicity. It actually took away the overwhelm for me. When I was married, my husband was in charge of our finances. And so I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention. And then when I found myself on my own, I felt overwhelmed by the idea of managing my financial affairs. And I read Ken's book and the book that you guys wrote together. And it just brought simplicity to my life around how things don't need to be complicated. It helped me understand things that I thought was complicated, but turns out they were not. So, that was huge for me in the book. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. I think our desire and our hope is that Life X is very much the same, just addressing our entire life. And we touch on finances because how can you have any conversation about a life exponential if you don't touch on finances? So finances is 5 core, and I call them core elements because that's language people understand, but really in our language, it's 5 stars. There's 5 stars that makes up all of our life, and financial is, or your money as we might call it, is definitely
something we have to have in order. Okay, well, my friend, listen, I don't want to give it all away because I know that some of your story is going to come out during the session at Ignite 2022. But as we wrap things up, maybe you could share a little bit with us about, or a piece of wisdom about why your story is important and how women who might be thinking about coming to Ignite can use that as an opportunity to help ignite their own vision for what they want to do.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And there's probably 50 different answers, but I'll usually go with the one that drops first. Like what penny dropped first, because I'm thinking that's usually the most authentic. May not be the best one, but it's certainly the most authentic. And for me, I'm going to say for us, because Ken and I really very much do go through life together. It is, if we can figure out how to go from really bound, and I was the bound chick, right? I didn't dance, I didn't sing, I didn't speak, I didn't do much of anything. And Ken and I were more than at odds with each other. So if we can figure out to go from, I'm going to say bankruptcy in every facet of our lives, rather than, I mean, even our kids didn't want to hang out with us. If we can go from really bankruptcy and upside down in every facet, anybody can actually do that. I mean, it's going to look different. It's not going to feel the same. Everybody has their own unique story and needs to embrace who they are. And yet the thing I would say from our story that people ought to get, like, please get it, that if we can figure out to go from where we were, bankruptcy and squalor and negativity, and like I can't use some of the language I would have used in those days, be highly inappropriate right here, right now. If we could go from those places, anybody that's willing to really take responsibility for themselves, and then allow the amazing things that start to trickle into their life to consume them rather than the negativity.
Yes.
Right? Embrace though, whatever you focus on does grow. I mean, Ken and I just had this conversation this weekend. I've just had a 60th birthday this like 2 days ago.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Kind of crazy. I think, how is that possible? I'm 34 years old in my head. And yes, I'm delusional and I'm embracing every ounce of that delusion. And yet, if I can shift my thinking, take charge of my thinking, and allow the good things to come into my life, more of it will come. I found myself complaining on my birthday. I came home and I said to Ken, I give myself a headache. Like, what am I doing? I know before I can say anything that's not working, I must share at least 3 to 5 things that are working. I know this for me, because if I don't, I go down a spiral and it's ugly. So I guess the big thing is just be willing to embrace the thing that which you really desire, not the thing that's easier to focus on. Both are simple.
Yep. That is the what a great way to end our conversation, my friend, with a little bit of a mic drop, something for people to percolate on. And so for those of you who haven't registered yet, I hope you will consider to come to Ignite 2022, Thursday, September 15th at the Infinity Convention Center here in Ottawa. We're super excited to have you. Ladies, this is a day for you to come and just focus on you and the powerful community of women that will be around you. We're just coming out of COVID. We've kind of been, in our homes, rethinking things and, where we want to go and what we want to do. Let's come together and let's bring impact to the world. Let's be true to who we are and let's move together. So Yetta, thank you so much for joining today. I can't wait for you to facilitate our session and to have some fun. We've got some kind of cool activities actually that we're planning for your session. So looking forward to that. And everybody, in living and loving the life we live, just enjoy the rest of your day. And we look forward to seeing you on September 15th. Thanks, Yetta.
Thank you.